Alright folks, how's it going? Today we are talking about the new Locked On black grip tape, as well as doing a quick overview of the old Locked On and the current dark matter grip tape. I've been skating the aggressive grip tape that has been available since Locked On has come onto the market. Before Locked On, I was skating vicious grip tape and repurposing belt sander grip tape belt sander belts as grip tape, which is essentially the same as what we've got as our current, downhill aggressive grip tape. So first, let's take a look at the traditional blue Locked On. So this is my previous favorite grip tape. So I have used this across the last, since it came out, across most of my boards that I'm using for downhill or free ride. It's super grippy. I've had zero durability issues, but I do live in California where it doesn't really rain, and if it does rain, I'm typically not skating in the rain. But despite all of that, this has survived multiple seasons of skating. I've had other boards that have lasted me longer, and honestly, the board is more likely, like a full wooden board is more likely to kind of disintegrate faster than the grip tape from what I've seen. The one thing I will say for durability on the blue Locked On is that the edges can delaminate. There's one piece, right here, where you get a little bit of separation from the actual paper backing, which is a little disconcerting, but when you put pressure down on it, it doesn't tear away or anything. It's still there, but that is one thing that I've seen visually that I've, while I'm not skating, sitting at home, been a little bit worried about. Has no issues conforming with usual concave, I would say. Maybe it won't fully gripping through like a drop platform, but I haven't had any issues with typical concave, and I normally skate top mount, so micro drops, maybe a little bit of like concave inserts. I've got some concave inserts in here, but haven't typically had any issues. It's extremely durable. All of the aggressive downhill grip tape is about the same in terms of durability, but the main thing to look out for is this paper backing. Paper doesn't like water, and then specifically the patterned grip tape that has the laser cutout like designs. I thought that was a cool idea at first until I went to an event that had rain. The water soaked through I think it was the hex material, the stuff that looks like a metal stamp. That just kind of ripped fully where my toes went. So that was terrifying. I had to choose a different board as like my backup jib and rib board. But as long as you're running full sheets, almost all of the aggressive grip tape will be about the same. So blue Locked On, I'd say an 8 out of 10. With the only shortcomings really being that it's hard to remove without kind of getting this delam effect, and then you got to use heat and then go slow. And then also the paper is not the best in terms of, getting wet and then skating if you get the laser pattern. I've had zero issues with wet with this type of board, or with this type of grip tape, as long as it's full. But you can see where some liquid has gotten in, it'll come up a little bit. So not ideal. So 8 out of 10. There's some points on the table for this to be better. Now looking at a similar product here, the the dark matter grip tape. This stuff is not paper backed, so the main difference is the backing. It's made out of like a cloth material that's like woven, so you can see. Let's see if we can kind of see here. This backing material is woven, and you can see as you cut it, you can kind of get stuck in like a range, and then I got kicked out of that, like, I guess the stitch almost, and then bumped out to another stitch, and then essentially just cut straight from that point. So I'll say clean application of dark matter is a little bit harder. I could have gone back and like sanded this, but I didn't. And then the other thing I've noticed is this is a relatively high concave board, and when I had this just sitting in my skate room not skating it, all of the high points just became unstuck. So if you've got a lot of concave, this stuff may pop off, just because it doesn't want to be bending so much. It's got a little bit more memory of being flat. I'm not sure if you heat it up if it would reset its memory to the concave shape, but from my experience, even though this was in a hot car and like had the temperature to reform its memory, it still popped off. So the only reason this is on right now is because I've got a layer of super glue fully around the outside, and then a bead like once here and once here at the major concave points. That's mostly because I know that I'm not gonna re-grip this board ever again, and you know, it's a little bit of a specific board. It's gonna use wide trucks, so I just said like it'll have this grip forever. Luckily it's durable enough that I know that the grip will probably outlast the wood of this board, but just something to note, dark matter has more memory of being flat, so if you've got something with a ton of concave, it might need some convincing or some super glue. Other than that, it lasts super long, zero problems in the wet. The color is like this rust red, so if you don't like blue, there's your option for not blue. And it comes with actually way more grip, like distance wise, for the price. I think it's around 30 bucks for Locked On and for dark matter. The distance that you get, like these, you get three of these squares plus this middle like logo piece, which is a ton of grip, versus the Locked On squares are maybe an inch shorter. So like you can see kind of right here at the end, we're lined up here where my thumb is, and then there's an inch at least on the dark matter. So that means you get 3 inches of free additional grip tape on the 3 pieces, and then you also get this piece. So tons of grip tape. It's not quite enough for 2 boards, so that's like a little bit of a bummer unless you're racing like tiny boards, and you're okay with like Picassoing chunks of extra dark matter, but it's a good value. My thoughts on dark matter are they're really good, but the main reason I don't choose dark matter is because of the adhesion issues that I've experienced. So great if you're willing to work with other adhesion tools to like fully commit to getting this on, but on the flip side of that, once you do that, you're not really gonna remove this, or if you do, it's gonna be more of a nightmare than just peeling off the blue Locked On. So those are my thoughts on the previous gen Locked On and the current gen 2026 dark matter. Now this stuff, the 2026 Locked On, is my current top pick for grip tape. So this main difference, one, the color is black, so I think that's better. It's less of like a statement. So if I want to, you know, put marker on my grip tape, I can do that, and then I can have my specific color or spray paint it or whatever. But the backing here, if you look, it kind of has these like grains, and it's definitely not paper anymore. So it's not that blue paper, and it's got like some weave to it. I've added this to a few of my boards, and it doesn't have as much of the fibers that the dark matter has, so it may not be full woven backing material, but it definitely feels like a more weather resistant backing, which I've been really happy to see. It bends plenty over decently aggressive concave, which I've put this directly onto a board with a torque block and just straight grip tape transition. Perfect, no problems, no bubbles, no anything. So honestly, after I think 5 months of testing the black locked on grip tape, I would say this is far and away the best aggressive downhill grip tape. It's fully durable. You can get it wet if you want to. Peeling it off from the couples of times that I've had to do it just to adjust things or like to get a bubble out, not a problem. Same kind of issue of like use heat, but I think for all of these grip tapes, it's going to be a little bit of a heat situation. So, you know, get a hair dryer from Target or from, you know, Walmart or whatever, or the thrift store, and then as long as you heat it up for maybe 30 seconds before you start slowly going towards the edges and kind of peeling it up, you'll be good. It'll take you less than 10 minutes to degrip your board. And the nicest thing about this is that you don't have to go and like apply super glue to edges to make sure things stick. But yeah, recommend the new Seismic Locked On. It's really nice, and it's black, which is like normal grip tape. Cool. That's my take. The black Locked On is good.